Hi everybody, Mrs. Reiko here, and I just want to show you briefly how I expect you to go through and make your video presentation for your art history reproduction. You can notice behind me I have a little bit of a backdrop that was created to represent my artist. Hopefully you all know by what we've talked about so far that I'm representing Vincent van Gogh for Starry Night. In front of me, I have all the materials that I'm going to need to use during my presentation ready. And I also have some just brief little notes. And these are going to make sure that I include all the required information to make sure we're meeting those objectives and the presentation is successful. Okay? This is okay for you to have in front of you. You're going to notice that I'll periodically be looking down at these little kind of cue cards to make sure I'm including everything. However, it's not okay for me to just sit here and read them. Okay? So you have to make sure you know most of this information ahead of time. And you're just using them as a prompt to allow you to remember everything that you need to include in the presentation. Okay, so here's an example of what we're looking for when you create these actual presentations. All right, here we go. All right, my name is Mrs. Reiko, and the artist I am going to be talking to you about today is Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh is a Dutch post-impressionist artist, and he was from the Netherlands. So if we look in on our map, the Netherlands is up here within Europe. Vincent was born in 1853 and he passed away at the young age of only 37 years of age. Most of what we know about Vincent van Gogh is actually through recorded letters that he wrote to his brother Theo. Theo and he were very close and had a good relationship. In the beginning, Vincent van Gogh actually created artwork that was kind of depressing. It was very gloomy in mood and tone. And it often spoke and looked at imagery of peasant life and everyday life for the peasants within the areas that he lived. While he was living, he was not famous at all. However, now he is celebrated as one of our most famous artists within the art community. When he started, his brother Theo actually wrote to him as he was in Paris and told him about this great new group of artists that he saw and said, brother, you should really get here and come check these out in Paris. This group of artists was the Impressionist group. And so Van Gogh was actually influenced by artists such as Monet, which some of you studied, Degas, as well as Pissarro. What you'll notice about a lot of his artwork is his artwork starts to become bolder, brighter, and you'll be able to see these very individualized brushstrokes within his artwork as he became familiar with these other artists, the Impressionists, that were creating this style of artwork as well. In 1888, he moved to an area called Arles, France, and it had this beautiful countryside. And again, he started taking some of those bold brushstrokes, brighter colors, more vibrant colors, and applying those to the landscapes that he saw within the area around him in Arles. You can see that he almost ends up creating this great sense of movement within the skies, within the fields, so you could almost feel the breeze on that kind of day. In 1888, once he moved to Arles, he actually created this kind of artist commune with a friend of his, Paul Gauguin, another very famous artist. And this is where his health began to kind of deteriorate a little more quickly. It's believed that Van Gogh had some mental health problems, and unfortunately this was in a time where that wasn't recognized and there were not treatments or doctors or facilities around to actually assist him. He created 37 different, or more than 30 different self-portraits. In the beginning it really showed very visual likeness, and in his style you could see he had like the red hair, he was enjoying his painting. However, as he continued on, the portraits are actually a great way to show the deterioration of his health. He began to make his skin tones more yellow, showing that he was ill. In one of them he had the bandaged ear, and during this time at Arles he actually had a psychotic episode. It's believed he was trying to stop the voices inside of his head, so sad, and he did cut off his ear. So the bandaged ear was kind of showing that his health was deteriorating. Because of that, he actually admitted himself into an asylum. And when he was in this asylum, he actually began painting all these beautiful paintings outside in the courtyard. And he was invited to have some of his paintings shown at a large gallery within Brussels. And so at this time, he sent 6 paintings. One of his most famous, Irises, was at that time that he sent these to there, as well as Starry Night. He later did try to end his life, sadly, but it didn't quite work. However, he did end up passing away in Theo, his brother's arms, a few days later. It's hard to believe that in such a short period of time, 37 years, he was able to have such a broad scope of work and be such an influence on the art world. The piece of artwork that I selected to focus in on was none other than Starry Night. When I started this process, I chose this because I really enjoyed all the individual brush strokes that you could see and the movement that was created within the artwork through the brush strokes. So I like the idea that you can actually create these feelings in the sense of something being active within the artwork with just this flat canvas. To begin my creative process, I went through and sketched out the main sections of what you see within Starry Night. This includes the cypress tree, the moon, the stars, the village, and the mountains in the background. After that, because we were going through this multimedia process, I applied watercolor washes all over my background. I tend to keep with the cool colors that Van Gogh used. However, I did pull in some of the warm tones for the lit up buildings and the moon and the stars. Upon completion of my watercolor washes, I went through and I did the tempera paint, and I used the tempera paint to go ahead and start adding in all those bold brush strokes and bright colors that he was known for, and to help give it that movement. And our final section of this, I went through and I added the clay to my artwork, and I did so up in the moon and the star areas as well as down within the cypress tree. And you can see that kind of just gives it those areas of relief. And again, I did those areas because I felt like those were the areas that were most pronounced within the Van Gogh artwork. Things that I did well in my painting, I think I got the proportions pretty well. I think that I started to really capture the movement within my piece of artwork. Things I could have done better was actually completed, but I did run out of time, so mine is not yet completed. I will work on that, I'm sure, when if I introduce the project to students again. Overall, I hope you guys have learned a lot on this project, and in particular about Van Gogh. I hope you enjoyed the project, and I hope you guys enjoyed working together. Thanks so much.